Good morning, everybody. Let me first of all extend a very warm welcome to Cyprus and to the University of Nicosia. And on behalf of the School of Veterinary Medicine, unfortunately, our Dean, Michael Heritage, is in the UK and cannot be with us today. So on his behalf and on behalf of the vet school, I would like to welcome you and wish you a very fruitful 2 days, exchange of information and ideas, and hopefully we'll all go away with new ideas to research into and take things forward as far as the coronavirus field is concerned. So without further ado, I would like to call upon Professor Stavros Malas, Director of the Cyprus Institute, who was, in fact, the first dean of the vet school. So I will leave things up to him.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm very pleased to be here for very many reasons. First of all, when Julian called me to Julian Hiscox, my good friend from college since 1988, I believe. That just shows our age, Julian. I thought, the best place for having this conference is the Veterinary School of the University of Nicosia, which was created through a collective effort at the University of Nicosia. I was leading that effort, and that led, of course, to the establishment, which started its operation 2 years ago. Now it's in the second year, I believe, with some very good and very able colleagues here. So it is indeed the right place for this discussion to take place. It is also, I think, would be an interesting discussion because although the focus will be on feline, I believe, coronavirus, but you'll expand on humans, well, colleagues in this room are representing countries that took initially a rather different approach. So in relation to COVID, as you know, Boris Johnson decided to take decisions in your country without the advice, or the proper advice of scientists, and he felt they could do an experiment, what he called herd immunity. He thought this word is a buzzword, so he thought, let's try this. But of course, very soon he realized that was the wrong decision. So the first lesson, if I were to really capture the message of COVID, is that science-driven policy is the way forward in modern age. And of course, COVID-19 has been a very disruptive pandemic, disruptive for the economy, disruptive for social behavior, and of course revealed the inequalities of systems across the world, and many countries suffered a lot more than others. Now, I am a strong believer of science-driven policy, and you know I have done some bad things in my life. I delved into politics, and politics, I believe, needs high-resolution scientific input to be able to be effective policy. And I think that's what's lacking in this country also, but in many other countries, and I believe scientists should be very proactive in getting close to policymakers, and of course that depends on policymakers to be receptive. Peter knows all about it in that respect. Now, in closing this, I'd like to, of course, to thank everybody for being here, but also I'd like to close with a reference to the history of this country. So we are actually sitting on a very important spot, not region, spot. So you see on your right is the airport of Nicosia, and on your left is Nicosia. Just behind us, literally meters from this spot, one of the most ferocious battles took place 50 years ago. Actually, it was only a handful of people that actually resisted to stop the Turkish army from taking part of Nicosia and closing off the airport. So I don't know how many people know this, but this is actually very important, Peter, and I know you were in the forces and you know that. So this is the spot that actually determined the fate of Nicosia in 1974, and I thought we should just remember that. Okay, so glad to be here, wishing you all the very best. I'll see you later on. I'd like to apologize for not being able to attend the full conference, but I'll be with you later on tonight. Thank you.
Let me introduce you. You're too keen. Right, the next speaker is Professor Julian Hiscox. He is the director of the UK International Coronavirus Network. And together with Stavros, they approached me about the organization of this conference. So he would like to say a couple of words also.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Stavros. And as Stavros says, he and I go back a very, very long way, sharing a friendship that has spanned decades now. I'd like to start by really acknowledging Lucy Davison in the audience, who came up with the idea of this meeting and alerted our network to feline coronavirus. Both Callum Semple and I were on an organisation in the UK called NerveTag that provides and provided scientific advice to the UK government during the pandemic. One of our nightmare scenarios was a reset of SARS-CoV-2 to something completely different that would evade the current vaccines that we have to the virus. And it is one of the possibilities that we still entertain in the UK that might be a future evolutionary direction of SARS-CoV-2. And one of the examples that we gave as a model of this was feline coronavirus, because of this ability to change from one type of coronavirus very rapidly to another one that causes a more lethal disease. And for those of us like Zoltan and I have worked on coronaviruses for many, many years, including the avian coronavirus, these viruses change all of the time. And whilst you might have a vaccine to one particular strain, a new strain is coming along and emerging. So I think there are many, many parallels between animal coronaviruses and human coronaviruses that I think we'll be able to draw from this meeting, and also hope we can take a lot further in terms of research and research programs, and also, as Stavros has highlighted, scientific advice and scientific policy. So I'm just going to end by, again, thanking Lucy for this, and particularly Lisa and Jill, who run the network with me, for putting this together, helping Peter and Stavros facilitate this meeting. It's such a beautiful island. It was 22 years since I was last here, and I've had children since that time, and it's beautiful always to come back to Cyprus. So again, thank you for hosting us. It's certainly better than rainy UK, that's for sure. And I look forward to hearing all the different types of talks and discussions. But thank you again, Peter. Thank you again, Stavros.